My dear family, can we be quiet for just a moment? Listen to the silence beneath the noise. Listen to the hope that has not left you, that quiet, stubborn voice that whispers you were made for more than this. It is the voice that hears chosen one and against all evidence trembles. You have worn struggle like a second skin. You know the hollow sound of an empty pocket, the weight of a future that feels like a closed door. The world has shown you its back, and you have started to believe the story it tells about you. That you are forgotten, that you are not one of the blessed. But that story is a lie. The divine does not choose the finished, the polished, the already whole. The call goes out to the cracked, to the ones whose pockets are filled with nothing but dust and doubt. To be chosen is not to be spared from the battle. It is to be handed the sword in the middle of it. Your brokenness was not a sign of rejection. It was the preparation. It was the hollowing out, making space for the glory that is to come. Your broke days, they are not your life sentence. They are simply the chapter before the miracle. The universe is not withholding from you. It is waiting on you. It is waiting for you to finally see what it has seen in you all along. So I have to ask you, what would you do if you knew in your bones that the struggle ends now? What version of you is waiting to emerge when you finally lay down the weight of lack? If this truth has landed in your spirit today, then do not let the moment pass you by. Let this be your first act of claiming your new reality. Press the like button on this video. Let it be your ice to the universe. In the comments, simply write the number 100 on an E, a symbol of new beginnings, a signal that your alignment has shifted, and subscribe, because this journey is just beginning and you do not want to walk this path alone. The door is opening. The only question that remains is, will you step through a recognition of the struggle? This is where we must begin, not with a lofty spiritual idea that floats above the pain of your present moment, but right here in the tangible reality of what you have endured. You see, so many teachings want to rush past this part. They want to hurry you to the affirmation, to the promise of abundance, as if by ignoring the weight of your struggle, it will simply disappear. But I am here to tell you that your healing, your true turning point, cannot be built on a foundation of denial. The pain must be witnessed. The fatigue must be acknowledged. The fear must be given a voice. This is not an act of dwelling in negativity. It is an act of profound spiritual honesty. It is the first and most necessary step toward genuine liberation. Think of it as a wound. If you have a deep cut, you do not simply put a bandage over your dirty skin and hope for the best. No, you must first clean the wound. You must look at it. You must acknowledge its depth, its nature, how it came to be. This process is not pleasant, but it is essential for true healing to begin. In the same way, we must look at the wound of your financial lack, not with shame or with a sense of finality, but with the clear-eyed gaze of a compassionate observer. We must recognize the anxiety that coils in your stomach when a bill arrives. We must name the quiet humiliation of having to decline an invitation from a friend because you know you cannot afford the cost of a simple meal. We must sit with the heavy grief of watching a dream feel as if it is slipping away because the resources to nurture it seem perpetually out of reach. This recognition is sacred when you give yourself permission to fully feel the weight of what you have been carrying. You are not admitting defeat. You are, for the first time, gathering all the scattered fragments of your experience and bringing them into the light. You are saying, this too is a part of my story. And in doing so, you drain the struggle of its hidden power over you. The shame, that thrives in secrecy begins to dissolve when it is brought into the open air of your own compassionate awareness. You are no longer running from the shadow, you are turning to face it, and in that turning, you discover that you are larger than the shadow itself. This is the profound paradox that every chosen one must understand. Your freedom is found on the other side of your honest confrontation with the chains. You cannot receive the new thing the divine is trying to give you if your hands are still clenched tightly around the old story of pain. By acknowledging the struggle, you are not giving it power, you are creating a sacred container for it. You are allowing it to be transformed. This is the alchemy of the spirit. The base metal of your pain and fear becomes the very fuel for your ascent. The pressure that you thought would break you is revealed to be the pressure that is forming a diamond within your soul. So let us not skip this part. Let us sit here together in this truth. Let the recognition wash over you, not as a verdict, but as a release. For it is only when we stop fighting the reality of where we have been that we can finally and truly begin the journey to where we are destined to be. Of course, here is the expansion of Keynote. No. 2, continuing the flow from the previous text. The lie of being forgotten. This is the insidious narrative that takes root in the quiet, lonely spaces of the struggle. It is the story that your circumstances are proof of a divine oversight, that your name has been misplaced on some celestial list, that the abundance and grace you witness in the lives of others is a clear indication that you have been passed over. This is the deepest wound, the one that truly cripples the spirit, because it attacks not your situation, but your very identity and your sense of belonging in the universe. It is a lie that feels so true because it is woven from the threads of your lived experience. The applications rejected, the opportunities that evaporated, the silent prayers that seemed to hit a ceiling of brass and fall back to earth unanswered. But I want you to consider the process of a sculptor working on a great masterpiece. If you were to walk into the studio in the middle of the work, what would you see? You would see chaos. You would see chunks of stone being chiseled away. You would see dust and debris covering everything. You would hear the harsh, grating sound of metal against rock. From that limited perspective, it would be easy to believe that the stone is being destroyed, that it has been abandoned to a violent and meaningless process. You would not see the emerging line of a jawbone, the curve of a shoulder, the gentle slope of a forehead taking shape. You would not see the artist's vision, only the apparent chaos of the method. You, in your struggle, are that piece of stone. You are in the middle of the work. The chips falling away are not your essence. They are the excess that must be removed to reveal the form that has always been hidden within. The noise and the pressure are not signs of abandonment. They are the precise evidence of the artist's focused attention. The universe does not waste its energy on raw, unformed rock. It invests its greatest efforts in the creations destined to become masterpieces. Your feeling of being forgotten is the most profound evidence that you are being remembered with an intensity that would be difficult to bear if you were to see it in its full force. The silence you perceive is not absence. It is the deep listening of a creator utterly absorbed in the task of bringing something magnificent to life. The lie tells you that the struggle is a sign of divine neglect. The truth reveals that the struggle is the signature of divine intention. When you are being prepared for a purpose that is vast and significant, the process cannot be gentle. It must be thorough. It must be transformative. It must strip away everything that is not essential to your true nature. everything that cannot withstand the weight of the glory you are meant to carry. The brokenness you have known, the financial lack that has felt like a prison, has not been a punishment. It has been the meticulous removal of the superficial, the dependent, the false supports that would have ultimately failed you. You are being forced to find a foundation that is not made of paper currency, but of spirit. You are being guided to a source of security that does not exist in a bank account, but in the core of your own being, which is one with the divine. The world forgets the ordinary. The universe never forgets the chosen. It is precisely because you are chosen that you are undergoing this specific, intense, and purposeful transformation. This understanding leads us directly into the next, which is that this breaking was not a random act of violence, but a sacred and necessary preparation. The vessel must be emptied before it can be filled with new wine. The ground must be plowed, turned over, and broken open to receive the seed. We often misunderstand the process of creation, believing it to be only an act of building, of adding, of accumulation. But the first and most vital phase of creation is always an act of clearing, of making space, of creating a void that demands to be filled. Your broke days, your moments of deepest need have been this clearing. They have been the forceful and at times painful evacuation of everything that you thought was security, but was in fact a limitation in disguise. You were relying on a job, a person, a system, a version of yourself that was never meant to be your permanent foundation. And one by one, those supports were removed. This was not a curse. It was the most merciful form of spiritual demolition. When a builder looks at a plot of land cluttered with old, unstable structures, he does not simply build the new house on top of the rotting foundations. He first sends in the wrecking crew. He brings in the bulldozers. To the untrained eye, this looks only like destruction. It looks like a step backwards, a loss, a mess, but the builder sees with different eyes. He sees the solid ground beneath the rubble. He sees the potential for a structure that is sound, that is beautiful, that will last for generations. Your life, in its recent history, has been visited by the wrecking crew of the divine. What was unstable has been torn down. What was temporary has been removed. And now you stand, perhaps feeling exposed and raw, on the clear, solid ground of your own spirit. This is the prepared space. This emptiness you feel is not a verdict of lack. It is an invitation for a new kind of fullness, a fullness that cannot be taken from you because its source is internal and eternal. This preparation has been about reorienting your entire being towards the true source. As long as your pockets were full, even with a little, your gaze remained downward, focused on the contents of your own hands. You believed you were the source of your own provision. But when your hands were emptied, your gaze was forced upward and inward. You were forced to look beyond your own limited resources. You were forced to develop a sensitivity to a different frequency of supply, one that operates on faith, on alignment, on divine timing. You have been learning to hear a whisper you would have missed in the noise of your previous financial comfort. You have been developing spiritual muscles that would have remained dormant had the struggle not demanded their use. The resilience you now possess, the deep empathy for others who suffer, the profound knowing that your identity is not tied to your net worth. These are the treasures that were forged in the fire of your lack. They are the unshakable foundations of the palace that is now being built upon the ground of your prepared spirit. You are not the same person you were before this season began. You have been hollowed out, yes, but that hollowing has created a sacred chamber, a resonance chamber that is now perfectly tuned to receive the abundance that has always been intended for you. And so we arrive at the turning of the page, the moment where the narrative shifts. The end of your broke days is not merely a change in your financial statement. It is the conclusion of a chapter in your spiritual development. You have completed the curriculum of lack. You have learned the lessons of dependence, of resilience, of what is truly essential. To remain in that state any longer would be to repeat a lesson you have already mastered. The universe is efficient in its grace. It does not waste energy on redundant teachings. This ending, therefore, is a divine graduation. The struggles you have endured were not a life sentence, but a specific time-bound season of training designed to forge within you the consciousness of a steward, the heart of a warrior, and the faith of a visionary. That season has now reached its natural completion. The old chapter was defined by scarcity, and its purpose was to make you so intimately acquainted with that energy that you would learn to reject it on a cellular level. You have been immersed in the vibration of not enough so that you would develop an immunity to it, so that you would finally understand that it is a lie that holds no power unless you consent to it. That chapter was the long, dark night that makes the dawn so brilliant and so welcome. But now the first light is upon the horizon. To continue to tell yourself the story of the broke days, to still identify as that person who is defined by the struggle, is to cling to an identity that is already out of date. It is to read the first chapter of a book over and over again, wondering why the story never progresses. You must be willing to close that book and open a new one. The title of the new chapter is not struggle and survival, but purpose and overflow. This transition requires a conscious shift in your internal allegiance. You must release the familiar comfort of the struggle, for it has become a familiar companion. You must let go of the identity of the one who scrapes by, the one for whom things are always hard, the one who cannot catch a break. That identity served its purpose, but it is a garment that no longer fits the person you have become. The person you are now, the one who has been hollowed out and prepared, is too vast, too deep, too powerful to be contained within cramped quarters of lack. The new chapter is waiting to be written, but you are the author. The universe provides the ink and the inspiration, but your hand must hold the pen. Your broke days are ending not because some external force has arbitrarily decided to change your luck, but because the internal work that defined that season is complete. The foundation has been laid, the vessel has been cleansed, and the student has become the master. The energy that was once spent on surviving is now free to be channeled into creating. The focus shifts from what you do not have to what you are now capable of building, of receiving, of becoming. The cycle is complete, and a new one, brighter and more expansive, is already beginning to turn. Of course, here is the expansion of Keynote No. 5. This brings us to the most pivotal understanding of all, the truth that shifts you from a state of waiting to a state of active co-creation. The universe is not withholding from you, it is waiting on you. It has been, with infinite patience, holding the entirety of your divine inheritance in a state of readiness, poised for the moment your internal frequency shifts into alignment with the abundance it seeks to deliver. Think of it as a radio signal, a beautiful symphony of provision and opportunity being broadcast to you on a specific frequency, the frequency of faith, of expectation, of already feeling the reality of what you have asked for. For so long, your dial has been tuned to a different station, the station of worry, of lack, of proving to the universe just how much you are suffering. The signal was always there, but you could not hear it through the static of your own fear. The universe was not refusing to play the music. It was waiting for you to turn the dial. This waiting is not passive. It is an active, intense, and focused anticipation, like a parent watching a child take their first wobbly steps, their hands outstretched, ready to catch them the moment they show the courage to move forward. The universe is leaning in, its hands outstretched, filled with the opportunities, the resources, the connections you have prayed for, but it cannot place them in hands that are clenched tightly around the old story of struggle. It cannot download a new software of abundance onto a hardware that is still running the old operating system of scarcity. The preparation you have undergone, the hollowing out, the ending of the old chapter, all of it was designed to get you to this moment of alignment. It was to clear the static so you could finally hear the music. The universe is waiting for your energy to declare, not in words, but in the quiet certainty of your being, that you are ready, that you believe the broke days are over, not because you see evidence in your bank account, but because you feel the truth of it in your spirit. This is the great cosmic dance, and you have been learning the steps through your trials. Now the music is cued. Everything is in place. The only thing missing is your decisive step onto the dance floor of your new life. The universe is not a cruel master demanding proof. It is a mirror reflecting back to you the energy you are emitting. When you emit the energy of someone who is still defined by their lack, the mirror reflects more lack. But when you begin to emit the energy of someone who knows on a level deeper than logic that they are the chosen one, that their vessel has been prepared and their new chapter has begun, the mirror has no choice but to reflect that reality. It is a spiritual law. The universe is waiting for you to assume the feeling, the posture, the consciousness of the reality you wish to inhabit. It is waiting for you to stop asking for what you think you need and to start embodying the person who already has it. The waiting is almost over. The signal is clear. The connection is moments away from being fully established, and the shift will be felt not as a slow trickle, but as a sudden and undeniable flood. This brings us to the final and most practical part of the journey. The act of claiming your reality. Understanding is a beautiful thing, but without action, it remains a theory, a lovely idea that never touches the ground of your daily life. The universe has been waiting for your alignment, and now that you feel the truth of this new chapter resonating within you, you must give that internal shift and external expression. You must plant a flag in the material world that declares to yourself and to the cosmos that the transition is complete. This is not about begging or hoping. It is about claiming what is already yours in the spiritual realm and pulling it into the physical through the force of your conviction and your actions. Faith, if it is not accompanied by corresponding action, is dormant. It is a seed that remains in the packet. The act of claiming is the act of planting that seed in the soil of your life. This begins with the simplest, most profound shift in your language. You must stop speaking the language of the old chapter. The words, "I am broke," must become, "I am in a period of divine transition." The thought, "I cannot afford that," must be replaced with, "That is aligned with my new reality, and I am open to receiving it in the perfect way." Your words are not just descriptions of your reality. They are the architects of it. They are the vibrations that shape the world around you. When you declare the new truth before you see the physical evidence, you are not lying. You are speaking from the spiritual reality into the physical one. You are using your voice as a divine tool to call forth what has already been prepared for you. This is how you claim your reality with your breath. Then you must claim it with your body. You must begin to move and act as the person you have become. If you have claimed a reality of abundance, then you must move through the world with the posture of someone who is worthy of receiving. You must take care of your possessions as a steward of great wealth, even if they are few. You must dress in a way that honors the temple of your spirit. You must make space in your home for the new blessings that are coming, clearing out the clutter that symbolizes the old energy of lack. This is not about pretending. It is about embodying the truth so fully that the physical world has no choice but to conform to the new energy you are radiating. You are not waiting for the evidence to feel like the new you. You are feeling like the new you to become the evidence. Ultimately, claiming your reality is a continuous moment-by-moment practice. It is the decision to choose the narrative of your chosenness over the narrative of your struggle, especially when the old evidence tries to assert itself. It is the courage to thank the universe for the provision you have not yet seen, to make plans for a future that your current bank balance does not logically support, and to extend generosity from a place of trust rather than from a place of surplus. Every time you do this, you are pulling the future into the present. You are closing the gap between the spiritual truth and the physical manifestation. You are no longer a passive observer of your life, hoping for a change. You are an active participant, a conscious creator, a chosen one who has heard the call and is now, with every fiber of your being answering it. The door is open. The path is clear. The only thing that remains is to cross the threshold.